All right, we're recording.
Here we go.
Let's go.
And welcome back to another week here on the Big Man's Report Live on News Talk 1492.3 WOND. I am your host, Blake Roselle. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic week. If you missed my show last week, you know where to tune in on my YouTube channel and also on my Instagram page at the Big Man's Report _live. You have all my content, everything is posted up there, and also like I said, my YouTube channel is updated weekly. So if you happen to miss last week's show, hop on there and you guys can see all the content from my show with my guest last week. Your continued support is terrific, and thank you guys for following me and tuning into my content every week. But without further ado, I have an awesome guest on this evening. I came across this guy a couple months back. I've seen a lot of the content he's doing, a lot of collaborations. He's a digital video creator out of Boston. He's hilarious. He's got some great work with some great people. And I wanted to bring him on the show because I thought we have an awesome conversation on how he got into what he's doing with all of his content and some people he's worked with and people and events he's going to continue to be doing throughout the future with all his great work. So I'd like to introduce my main man, Tommy Guarino out of Boston. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah,
Guarino?
Guarino. Yeah, you got it. I've heard everything. I've heard Guarino. What else have I heard? Guarino. Like I've heard it, but yeah, you did a good job with Guarino.
Well, I got some Italian in me on my father's side, so I try to pronounce these names a little good, a little
Right.
better than others, right?
No, I just wanted to. I wanted to first thank you for your patience. I know it's been kind of like back and forth trying to get this going. I've just been, busy, which is good, but I always like to make time to do stuff like this because obviously any exposure is great exposure. I love to tell my story when I can. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. I thank you for coming on, and I'm glad we finally were able to work out time to knock this out because this is going to be some cool stuff, and I like to hear from you and what you're doing, how you got into what you're doing. So I wanted to start out by I always want to get a little bit of background on your upbringing. So you grew up in Boston, am I correct?
Yeah, Boston, neighborhood of East Boston. I still actually live here. I live in my family's house that I grew up in. So I've been in the same house for what? I'm 23, so 23 years.
Wow. So well, I can tell in your accent, you got the Boston accent. I'm sure everyone tells
Yeah,
you.
a little bit. Yeah, yeah. No, I grew up in East Boston, which is like I said, a neighborhood of the city of Boston. I think there's like 10 to 12 neighborhoods considered the city of Boston. And like, if you're one of those suburb towns and you kind of try to get away with saying you're from Boston, like people from Boston will check you because it's kind of like a territorial thing, which is funny. And I play up on that a lot in my videos. Like we call people that move into the city yuppies, like people that come in from, which they use in other places too.
Yeah.
But I grew up here, Italian blue collar household. We were never hurting for money, but we also never had a ton of money. I would say lower middle class. I was lucky enough to go to school in East Boston my whole life, and East Boston's very diverse now. In the 80s and 90s, it was more Irish Italian, and now it's like very Hispanic and Black and Italian. Like there's a lot of different diversities there.
Right.
It's very diverse, a lot of different ethnicities there, which is cool. So I got to grow up in that, and I went to school in the city my whole life, went to East Boston High School, graduated from there. So I got to meet like a lot of different people from different backgrounds. And even though we didn't, we weren't going on vacations 7 times a year, I had it better than a lot of other kids I went to school with. So definitely a unique upbringing in this house.
That's great. It's a pretty cool story. I mean, and also too, like when I think of Boston, I just think of I think of the sports. I think of Celtics. I think of the Red Sox. I've never been to Boston. It's on my bucket list to get up there, but I heard a lot of great things about the city. I mean, the city of Boston, and people love to go up. Whether it's the food or whether it's to check out the sports. I mean, where is that? A lot of the main attractions. There's a lot more, I'm sure, to Boston than just
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, I always say in Boston, it's like the celebrities here are the athletes, because it's not a New York, LA, or Miami where there's constant A-listers coming through. Like, yeah, for once in a while you'll get people that have concerts here, but for the most part, the athletes is what this city, is inspired by and looks up to,
Right.
just like I did. So yeah, I mean, if you're coming to Boston, you gotta go to Fenway. You gotta try to catch a game there. That's just like the Cathedral of Boston. Everyone has to go there at least once. The North End, obviously. I mean, I might be biased, but I mean, here's the thing. I've only been to one Little Italy, and it's the North End. I've kind of looked into other ones. It looks like the nicest one in my opinion, but again, I don't. I gotta go see the other ones before I make that judgment. I was actually talking to Sabino of the Grown Up Italian podcast, and he kind of alluded to Boston being one of the better Little Italies around.
Right.
So I grew up going to the North End a ton. So that's a part of Boston you're gonna check out. You have the Seaport District, which is up and coming. It's brand new. It's like where all the cool clubs are and bars and restaurants. So
Mhm.
that's like the big three. And then obviously the Garden. If you want to catch a Bruins or a Celtics game, that's always fun too. But like you were saying, the Boston and New England really runs off their sports. Like that's an integral part of being from here is you follow those sports and you don't root for anyone else.
Yeah, and like the reason I bring that up too, and like I think it's really neat to talk about that is because like I live down in South Jersey. My family's from Philadelphia, particularly South. My dad's family's from South Philadelphia, and we're just as crazy with the sports down there. I feel like as Boston is. So like
Yeah. Yep.
Boston, as you know, is a big sports city, and Philadelphia is crazy like that too. I'm sure you hear how crazy the Eagles fans are.
For
I'm sure
sure.
you hear, the Sixers and the Philadelphia Phillies, which I had the play. I had the honor to go to some of the games when they were in the World Series last year. So that
Nice.
was awesome. But Philadelphia and Boston seem to have a lot in common as far as like the
Yeah.
passion of the sports and the food. I would, the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. I was talking to actually Nikki and JoJo Scalata, the twins from Staten Island. We
Yeah.
do a lot of collabs with. They're from Staten Island, so they grew up in New York. There, I think they're Giants fans. I want to say, but
Mhm.
I was saying, I'm like Boston, New York, like Philly. Like
Yep.
we all kind of like when it comes to sports, we all hate each other, but it's like at the end of the day, we're all very similar people.
Absolutely.
Which is why, like, if we ever met in a bar or something, not talking sports, I'm sure we'd get along right away. So it's yeah, it's a funny there's a lot of similarities. It's funny, like it's kind of parallel in a way.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. At some point, you gotta get down to South Philly and do some collaborations. Go get a cheesesteak and
Yeah,
do some funny videos down there, and definitely do some stuff with you. And then I got to come up to Boston at some point to check that out. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're working on getting some stuff going right now to get a full-time video guy with us to kind of follow us around and do cool shit. So, a lot more traveling and content coming this next year.
absolutely, that's great. So I just want to talk, Tommy, a little bit about what got you in, what your passion for creating these videos. Was it like kind of like a spur of the moment kind of thing, and you're watching something on Instagram or YouTube, and you say, "Hey, that's funny. I kind of want to do something similar to that," or what kind of sparked you to get into what you're doing with all your content creating and all that? I mean, it's some
Yeah,
pretty funny
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I actually thought about this last night because I knew I was coming on the show, and I like to kind of reflect on my content journey and stuff like that here and there, and I really thought about it, and I'm like, in elementary school, I always loved to write stories. I don't know what it was. I never like took it too serious, but like in my spare time as a hobby, I would write little stories, like one-page stories in a notebook, and it would usually have to do with like horror or comedy. Those are my two favorite movie types too. And I grew up watching a lot of comedy movies, like Adam Sandler movies. I've watched every mob movie you could think of with my dad. Jim Carrey, all that. So I grew up, and I grew up in an Italian household. I live in a triple decker household, which is a 3-story house. They call them triple deckers in Boston. And my grandmother's on the first floor. Me and my parents were on the second floor. And then we always had like a family friend of my brother on the third floor. So the house was always packed with people. And my grandmother's house on the first floor was where my whole family came for Sunday dinners and stuff like that. So
Yep.
I grew up in a crazy house, which is awesome. I mean, I was blessed to do that. But growing up in a house like that, it can get a lot sometimes, and there's always some sort of conflict. But I I derived a lot of my content from just real life experiences.
Yeah.
And another kind of when I look in retrospect, like how I came about doing this, because I can never answer that question for a while. I would always say like, oh, I don't know, I just did it for fun. Like I don't know why I did it, but something sparked it. Like I started doing videos one day. Like what sparked it? So I really thought back, and with the writing stories when I was in elementary school. In middle school, I would make like little short movies with my friends on a flip video camera. They're like little mini cameras we would make
Right.
movies on. I would edit them and stuff. And then I kind of stopped that going into high school because obviously that wasn't like the cool thing to do. But I never really like missed it. I just kind of like moved on to sports. I played hockey my whole life, so I focused on
Yeah.
hockey in college and all that. And then once COVID hit, I was dating this girl at the time, and she was like big on TikTok. She loved TikTok. And I was one of those guys that was kind of like, what's this app? Screw this thing. And she was like, you should make an account, whatever. So I made an account. I was scrolling, and I don't know. I just had a random urge one day to make a video, and it was September. I want to say like September 6th, 2020. I remember the date. I was coming back from the gym, and I was just in my car, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna make a video. I had a funny thought, like a relatable thought, and this alludes back to what I was saying about people who move into the city. I made a video just talking about people who claim to be from Boston but aren't actually from Boston. So that's
Right.
kind of what started the whole Boston thing. I did a quick video. I shut my phone off. Took a shower, went to bed. I woke up the next day and it had like 100,000 views, which is obviously not mega viral, but for someone who doesn't post on social media, that's crazy. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit blown away by that, and I just took a couple days and I was like, is this really what I want to do? Because I grew up with, like I said, blue collar Italian guys for the most part. That's my friend group. And they bust balls. Like at the end of the day, we all love each other, but like, they'll give you shit like, oh, what are you doing on that app and this and that. So I'm
Yeah.
like, do I really want to hear these guys, or do I want to continue doing it? So I continued doing it. And along the way there was definitely some road bumps, speed bumps, but obviously it all worked out. But that's basically how I started. I think I just kind of found my inner child again and made that one video, and it worked out, and just kept going from there.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. So, and sometimes that's really all it takes is for you to spark your ideas. You do one thing, and then you're like, you know what, this is great. Let me take this and let me run with this. I mean, this is something that I'm great at, or I'm funny, where
Yeah.
you can make a lot of good content and keep making that. And what I notice is the biggest thing, which I'm sure you'll agree with, is when you start making these videos that you gotta in the beginning, you kind of just gotta keep making them, right? You're not really worried about views as much in the beginning. You
Yeah.
gotta kind of get it to catch on, right? People to kind
Mhm.
of get onto your content.
Yeah, no, I mean, but purely the first year of doing this, it was just for fun. Not that I don't do it for fun now, because I do, but I didn't make any money in the first year. And in the first year, my content journey, so 2020 to 2021, that was my fastest growth on TikTok. Still to this day, I went from zero, or I think I had like 5,000 followers on TikTok, and then I did that first Boston video, and then from there I grew up to 1 million followers by next August. So less than a year,
Yeah.
10 months, 11 months. So I was purely doing it for fun. And listen, I still got caught in the trap of overanalyzing numbers and like, why is this not doing better than this? But
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't really know I could make a business out of it until probably after a year. Like, cool, it was cool. I was getting free shit, and like, I'm doing videos for $100, $200. Like, wow, this is easy. But I was still in college at the time. I was at UMass Boston. I switched my major like 4 times. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was honestly skipping classes to make videos. So it was after that year mark, fall semester 2021 was my last semester of college, where I was doing videos and doing classes. And I just realized that college, it wasn't for me at that point. And I started making a little bit of money. I got paired up with my now agent, and we started bringing in brand deals, and I took it full time.
It's great. Good for you. And
Thank you.
it's a really
Thank
cool
you.
story. And sometimes it takes, for you to try different things to realize what you want to do. And that's the most important thing. And, you got to be happy in what you're doing, and you get joy out of making people laugh. Right. And I'm sure you've gotten tons of feedback, like, good feedback. Oh, this is hilarious making the video. And then I'm sure you get other guys, you get haters that say, oh, you're not funny, or this is stupid. Why'd you put that up?
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of both. But hey, if there's people that aren't agreeing with what you're doing, it means they're still watching what you're doing though. And
Yeah, no,
that
it's
drives
yeah.
your success even more.
Yeah, I listen, I when I first started and I started seeing, honestly, I got more, I would say, like hate comments when I first started rather than
Mhm.
now. Like now I'm more established as a creator. I have a fan base. Like
Yeah.
90% of the comments are going to be positive. But of course, there's always negative ones mixed in there. And I don't know. I'm just at a point now where truly, like, it doesn't bother me. Like, of course, a little bit it lingers in your head. Some comments like, "Oh shit, that comment's a little too,
Yeah.
a little too much." But at the end of the day, it might linger for a second. But at the end of the day, I know I'm doing what I love, and I'm in control of my own destiny, and this is what I'm gonna do. And I have a solid fan base that I've built this last 2.5 years. I've been doing this. That why it would be almost. I feel like it would be almost selfish of me to give up what I have because, or stop doing what I have because there would be so many people that would love to be in this position to maximize this opportunity. So that's how I look at it. And again, it's obviously what I love to do. So I'll never let any comment or any words from someone else take that away from me. The people that I love support me, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And you always have people in your circle that are supporting what you're doing. And it just takes that little bit of support and that little bit of a boost to just kind of keep your stuff going. I mean, you're gonna get people that laugh, that laugh at what you're doing or think it's, oh, this guy's being ridiculous. But those people don't matter because you're doing what you love. And like I said, if you don't have haters, you're not being successful, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. You're not doing something right. I mean, if
Exactly.
you're not gonna be able to please everyone, it's just impossible with anyone. A-list celebrities, B-list, C-list, like you're not gonna there's
Mhm.
always gonna be someone that's gonna, say something bad, and it's just life. And I've come to, terms with that. So it is what it is.
Absolutely. Well, keep on driving and what you're doing because you're doing a great job. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about your ideas for content when like you put up and you've had some collaborations. I mean, I know the pages like Hardcore Italians, Growing Up Italian on Instagram have been like really blowing up the last couple of years.
Mhm.
The Scarlotta twins. I see all their JoJo and Nikki. I see all their stuff and your collaborations with them in the
Yep.
deli. I think I think you may have done some work with Mules by Gugene and Little Mo, I think in
Yeah.
the past. So
Yeah, a little bit.
um,
Yeah, we did a few things with them. Yeah, they're good
yeah,
guys.
I had Little Mo on my show actually last year. He's a great dude. He's hilarious. He came down and
No, he's a one of a kind
oh
character that
yeah,
he honestly like kind of pioneered like that whole like what does he say? What's his go to phrase? Like what's he say? How you doing or
how
something?
you
How you
how you
doing?
doing?
Like all that. Like he really like pioneered like all that. And like
Yeah,
then you have guys like Kuj that came along and Scarlatta's and all these guys that it's not a dig to any of those guys, but it's
yeah,
like he was kind of one of the first ones to really hop on that Italian comedy
right.
wave. And he's a great guy. I love Mo. He's funny.
So what drove so I guess what drove a lot of the content that you did with like where you were shooting the content? Was it just like, hey, let's go to a deli and break each other's stones and let's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, how did you get some of the ideas to do what you did or what
yeah.
your content?
No, it's funny to think back to when I first started my content to now because at the end of the day, content it just evolves like everything in life, like business it evolves and you got to kind of just roll with it. Um, but as far as content, like I started the first year I started doing TikTok 2020 to 2021. I would only film by myself. There was no one else that I really knew in this space, especially in Boston. There's not a lot of big creators in Boston. And then I started doing videos with my best friend, Prosciutto Papi, who's, in a lot of my videos as well. And then that kind of was my first constant collab with him. We would start filming videos together. So my style of video kind of switched up. And then I want to say 2022, we started networking a lot more. So we took trips to New York. We took a trip to down to Florida. We met some people. Just made some connections, a lot of connections in Boston that helped us elevate to filming in different places and, really just going to any restaurants we wanted to film and, not having to do anything really in return. They just wanted us there to film because they know that we were going to make some good stuff. We met other
Right.
creators like Nikki and JoJo to film with. So I guess the way the content has kind of came about is it's really just been ever evolving. And me and Prosciutto Papi are in a place right now where we're actually starting our own brand together called It's Content. It's like a media company kind of thing. And
Right.
the vision I have for that is to create something bigger than us and, do podcasting under it, live entertainment, different kinds of shows and content. That's why we kind of up the production. We have two videographers that come on site with us to film, and we had the deli idea, and we just honestly, like you said before, we just tried new things, and the deli worked, and we just kept rolling with it. And now, we're looking to turn it into we're trying to take an angle on it where it's like a full blown live entertainment show down the line. So we have a lot of cool stuff in the works, but yeah, that's kind of how the contents came about.
That's great. Yeah, I noticed you with your friend that you said you mentioned your friend. You guys started off doing some stuff together or in the beginning, and now you're doing collaborations with like the Scarletta twins.
Yeah,
I think I also like the New York versus Boston guys kind of. I mean that stuff's hilarious. Like just like you guys are you know you're showing the two different Italian types of Italian personalities, and you guys are going back and forth with each other in the video. I think that's brilliant. Honestly a great idea, and that's what I was saying. Yeah, you got to come do a South Philly collab with some South Philly Italians because they're different people. They're comics for sure. That's
Yeah.
all I'll say. But
No, we definitely have to set that up. The
yeah,
whole New York Boston thing, it's obviously just a bit. Like we're fucking great friends with Nikki and JoJo. But people think we're actually serious, I think people actually think we hate each other, which is funny. But that whole New York Boston thing, it just plays well, especially in Boston, because like I said, Boston, it's not even nearly as big as New York. It's small. So like it holds more of like testosterone in the city than like the whole thing with Boston and New York, the rivalry. It's like people see that in Boston, it's like, yeah, fuck New York, like all this
yeah,
shit. It just gets people going in the comments, and it's funny. But that's why I said like I want to have different people on to kind of play up on different things because right now we're just kind of known as like the deli, the Italian Boston guys. Like we're just kind of playing that kind of character right now. And not to say that that's not us, but obviously we're exaggerating a little bit in the videos. We're not actually fucking psychos throwing stuff at each other, but it plays well. So I'd love to have different kinds of people on, especially Italians.
yeah. It drives and makes good content too, and like and people on social media they want to see that kind of stuff. It makes them laugh. Like oh, do another video or like
100%.
it's when you see each other go like in a funny way going at each other. It's hilarious. You
Yeah,
know,
got to keep
it's
people
right.
engaged.
Yeah. And the deli content is funny because it kind of just brings that like when you walk into an Italian deli, whether in New York, Boston, or wherever you're at, you kind of get that feel like yo, buddy, what do you want to eat? Or
Yeah,
yo, chief, like that
yeah,
whole you could really make. And it was a great idea how you guys did that collaboration because it's funny. It's the truth. When you walk into those kind of places, like those mom and pop shops, you have those owners that those old school guys or they that been in the meat shop for 50 years or the
yeah.
the counter lady, and it's just you can really drive that to make a funny video, and you guys did a good job in doing
Yeah,
that.
I think a lot of it is just finding relatable things
Exactly.
to kind of play off of. Because that's kind of how we get creative is like with um, new like what's the word I'm looking for? New like venues or like new build like companies we use to film at. It's like
Yeah.
that kind of helps us come up with new content ideas. So when we had the deli, automatically I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking easy because we could just play two miserable Boston guys behind the counter, and then we can just have new characters flood in. So that's kind of what we're doing with that. But then, for example, like if we have a restaurant, we can kind of use the same model where it's like someone comes in, you have an interaction, but it's different because it's a restaurant. It's the
Right.
same thing, but it's different. So it's good to stay creative and use different locations to shoot at, just to keep people engaged and waiting for the next thing. So yeah, we have a lot of cool stuff planned. Just it's a 24/7 job though. I'm kind of wearing a bunch of different hats every day trying to make things work. So but number one, I consider myself a content creator. That's when I'm the most happy is when I'm filming. So
Yeah. Did you ever think into like down the road have an opportunity like in like acting and stuff like that? And obviously your content creation is kind of like it is driving you in that direction. Did you ever think about doing those kind of things?
acting,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I would love to. I don't know. To be honest, like I think if I was on an acting set, a movie set, I'd be kind of nervous just because like I would be fine. Like I know myself, I'd power through it. But in my head, it's like I'm only used to two videographers and like maybe some lighting. Like if I seen
Yeah.
a bunch of people around me and like everyone's staring on one scene, but I've talked to a couple of guys that are kind of in that like indie movies and stuff, not like high production movies. And
Right.
they said, honestly, it's kind of the opposite sometimes because there's so many people there that it's like not awkward. Like everyone's there to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Where we're in the deli filming, we film. And people don't know this, but we film in the deli while they're open. So all the people you see in the deli are actual people. We're just screaming our heads off, and these poor people are like staring at us, like, "Who are these guys?" And I want to shout out New Dale Fruit in Revere, Massachusetts. That's the deli we shoot at. And they're like a staple deli in the Massachusetts, New England area. So I
Right.
mean, whenever you come to Boston, we'll have to bring you in there and get a sandwich. They're the best. They're really good. But yeah, sorry, I
Absolutely.
didn't mean to get away from your question. But yes,
Yeah.
I would love to get into acting. It would have to make sense. I'd have to. I want to do things that I'm genuinely passionate about, you know. And if it makes sense, then I'm here to do it. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you seem like you know, you're good. Again, you're good behind the camera, like with like making being like, you know, being comedic and doing funny things.
Mhm.
But you know, it's something too, like to think about, like and down the road. And you said, you know, talk to some people in that field, and
Mhm.
you know, the comedy skits or just small movies, stuff like that is a great way to kind of get your feet wet in there. But like you know, like I said, I think the ideas of how you create your videos are really are great ideas, and you kind of you don't want to. The other thing is too, like when you're, I notice what you're doing, like you do like the out of the ordinary, and you use your background and how you grew up to kind of drive your content, and it's funny. Like everybody loves, I feel like everybody loves like the Italian stuff, whether you're talking about food, whether you're talking about growing up in you know, in mom and dad's house.
Yeah.
It sparks people's interest, and they find that amusing, like Italian
Yeah.
comedian. I mean,
100%.
I had guys like Vic DiBitetto and Mike Marino on
Mhm.
my show, and a lot of them come from like the obviously that Italian background, and they can. And I mean, they're a little bit older than us, but they were able to drive that and make it funny. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Use that in their stand up. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, you're definitely right. I think with social media and the algorithms and all that, like when you start to film a certain kind of content and post it and it works, if you try to push a different style of content or a different kind of content, like for example, if I'm doing comedy deli skits, I can't do an art review at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. Like it's not going to do well, and people get that misconception. It's like, oh, you have 200,000 followers, you should be getting 200,000 views every day. It's like that's not
yeah,
how it works. The
right.
algorithms don't push it out to your following like that. So because of that, I've been very what's the word I'm looking for? I've been very like I don't want to switch up my content a lot, which is
Right.
kind of not a bad thing, but also not a great thing because you got to think long term as well. So because of that, I've really just stuck to like the Italian Boston comedy for the most part. That's really all I do on Instagram right now. But
Yeah.
this year, I'm setting a goal for myself, and like I said, we're putting a lot of pieces together for this media company. I'm setting a goal for myself to dive into different kinds of content, whether it be like food reviews. I'm actually just paired up with a trainer, so I'm getting back into the gym. So I'd like to do fitness content, maybe do like a little fitness journey. That could be cool, but I want everything to have a underlying theme of comedy involved. That's what I do. I do comedy. So end of the day, my goal is to become, a personality from Boston, not just a Boston personality, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And two, like you said, you started out doing something that worked, right? You stuck with it and you've been really successful with that. And now you're kind of opening your horizons to other things.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to do that now because you've kind of established yourself and your name.
Mhm.
And now the other opportunities you know you're taking, which is good to see. Where else can you drive, you know, your personality? What other things can you do? And that's just how
Mhm.
you keep growing, right? As an individual, keep growing as a creator. Then that's so important to kind of expand your horizons, like you said. It's one of the great
Yeah, I think that's the
things.
number one thing with any kind of business. Like the last year, I've really started to shift my focus from being a guy who just makes videos to an entrepreneur because I've found a little bit of a passion to building brands and like just things in the business side of this industry that I've enjoyed. So being an entrepreneur, it's you got to try new things, you got to fail, you got to learn lessons, you got to ask questions, and that's something I've enjoyed doing and I found a passion for. So yeah, you gotta always evolve and think on your toes, and it's not always fun, but when you get awarded for your hard work, that's when it all pays off. So I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely, and that's great to hear, and great stuff you got coming on the way. So, some of these projects that you are working on in the future, we just have under a little under 7 minutes here,
Yep.
Tommy, on the show. But a lot of the other things that you're now when you do collaborations, I mean, are some people that you just meet through collaborations? I mean, I know you know the JoJo and Nikki Scarlata very well now. You've been doing some stuff with them. But other people, other content creators, do they kind of reach out to you, or how do you guys kind of get in touch with each other when you want to make content?
Yeah, to be honest, in Boston, there's not a lot of big creators. Like we're probably,
Yeah.
I say this humbly, but we're probably two of the biggest creators here, me and Prosciutto Papi.
Yeah.
So we just do everything together here. As far as like collaborations, yeah, it would really just be reaching out. We have big enough of followings now that when we reach out to anyone, it's at least on their radar that they're gonna see it probably. So yeah, that's kind of how I got with Nikki and Jojo. I think they commented on one of my videos last summer, and then we were just talking in the DM, and then I ended up in Brooklyn for the Grown Up Italian podcast, and then I did a video with Mo. I did a video with them too, Jake Botch, Kuz. So it's like it's just a lot of this is timing, and a lot of it is being consistent, reaching out to people. Because even if you feel like you're being a little bit annoying or whatever, like end of the day, it's like you got to do what you got to do. Obviously, don't hound the person, but don't feel free to reach out a few times. They'll probably get back to you. So we've done a good job at building that network of creators, and we plan to build more when we go to LA for the first time and all that. But also with like the athletes in the city, like we've been lucky enough to have a lot of relationships with athletes in Boston. Like Devontae Parker's a really good friend of ours on the Patriots, and that's why we're going down to Louisville because he's from there. So we were able to help him with his local camp down there, and then that translated into meeting one of Jack Hollow's good buddies, and we got invited to his kickball tournament.
Yeah.
So it's just everything works hand in hand. You just got to be able to build those genuine relationships, and
Yeah.
that's what I try to tell a lot of my people that I talk to when they ask for advice is like when you go to build a relationship with someone, like try to just build a genuine one. Go to dinner, go get a coffee. Don't bring up money right away. Don't bring up like let's go do a video right when I see you. Like just build a genuine relationship because the best content is going to come from those good relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I saw on your page, on your Instagram page, you linked up with the Gronk family,
Yes,
Gronkowski. I saw that. Yeah.
that was probably the coolest collab we've had so far. Gronk, obviously growing up here in New England and Boston, Gronk was like a god to us here, still
Yeah.
kind of is. And we're really good friends with his brother Gordy Gronk, because he's in Boston a ton for business, and we just kind of met him in the space. And Gordy, I have to give thanks to him because he set the whole thing up. They were all going down to Fort Myers. Their mom lives in Fort Myers, and he literally told me and Prosciutto Papi, he's like, hey, we want to do a little cooking video with my mom. Why don't you come down? And it was me, Prosciutto, and all five of the brothers, or four of the brothers. It was crazy. We were there the whole day with them. We played pickleball with them. We played cornhole. We ate, drank with them. So it was definitely a unique experience. But now we're buddies with Gronk, which is pretty cool. So one of
Yeah.
the coolest things we've probably done so far for sure in this space.
Yeah. And like you said, you'll never know who you meet. You'll meet in this world, in this business, right? And
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. I mean, I kind of been fortunate it's my third year doing this, and I had the pleasure of having some pretty cool people on, pretty big names, and I remain humble about it. I just want to keep going,
Yep.
keep driving my show, but it's great though, like you said, exactly what you're doing and what I'm doing. I think it's you just got to keep on going forward and make great things happen, and just takes work and effort too.
Yeah, and
Don't
to
get me
add on
wrong,
to that, like end of the day, like you gotta take risks. You gotta
yeah,
you gotta do something, even if you feel like you maybe shouldn't do it, just do it anyway. Because butterfly effect. If I didn't take time to do that stupid video coming back from the gym in 2020, it's like I
yeah,
wouldn't be where I am now. So it's insane to kind of think of all the levels. That's kind of the ups and the downs and the little things that I did that I didn't really want to do, but it built a really good relationship. So I try to be a yes man as much as I can.
yeah.
Take time for yourself, but take opportunities when they come.
Absolutely. Yeah. And and again, those things, even if it's a small opportunity in the beginning, right? You may think, well, it's not worth my time. It's kind of a small thing, but you never know where that's going to lead. So, like you said, that's a great point that you
100%.
said. Always say yes, and always have, try to make time for other things, because you never know what that can transpire to.
That's why I was excited when you reached out. I mean, I think I've seen your show before you reached out to me on someone's Instagram or something, but I was happy when you reached out because even though you're not Joe Rogan yet, it's still cool to come on and do podcasts. And I'm trying to build up a podcast of my own right now,
Yeah.
actually. So any exposure helps. You never know who could see this interview. You never know who is going to reach out because of little things you do. So just always try to pride yourself on putting in that extra effort. And if you're not sick and in bed and mentally you can't do it, like if you can do it, then just go do it, because you never know what can come from it.
Absolutely, 100%. And we're just under 2 minutes here. I mean, the show time goes so fast, but I want to, we'll do. We got to do. We get in the future. We got to. We got to do another show down the road, at some point. And also, I want to be able to get up to Boston, and you guys got to come down to Philadelphia, and we'll do some stuff down here. It'll be a great time, and great, some great collaborations.
No,
So.
I love podcasts because even though like I know we had a previous phone call before this, but when you go on a podcast and you talk to someone for about an hour, it's like you kind of leave there like friends. It's pretty cool. So I appreciate you having me on, giving me the platform. I'm serious about you coming to Boston. Like we'll set some stuff up. We know, like I said earlier, we made a ton of good connections here, so we know a ton of cool people that'll take care of us here. And I think I'll definitely have to make a trip up to Philly to kind of show them who the Boston Italians are.
Just be prepared. The Philly Italians are different people, but everyone will get along. We'll have a good time. So, but listen, man, I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. I know it was hectic to schedule the show. I know you're very busy with all the traveling you're doing and a lot of the work you're doing. But I wanted to thank you again, Tommy, for coming on the program. And we'll blow this up a little bit, and look forward to doing some stuff in the future, like we said.
Yeah, for sure, Blake. Thank you for having me on, and I'm looking forward to seeing the clips and promoting it, and getting people's reactions. I'm sure people are gonna love this.
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be good for both your audience and mine down here in South Jersey. So it'll be definitely something special.
It'll be great, man. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. I'll talk to you soon, and thanks for coming on the podcast here. This is the Big Man's Report Live, signing off on News Talk 1492.3 WOND. We'll see you guys all next week on Wednesday. Everyone have a great rest of your week and weekend.